So here's something you probably haven't heard much in the shutdown coverage. Buried deep inside the bill that's basically reopening the government or ending the shutdown, the funding bill, like 1,000-page document, is a little notice provision that basically hands out $500,000 each to a number of Republican senators, the same senators whose phone records were subpoenaed by Jack Smith, the investigator looking into the January 6th insurrection and the fake elector conspiracy theory plot. And this was snuck in at the same time that the country desperately needed funding for federal workers, reopening airports, providing benefits to many people that need it. The Republicans managed to sneak in a clause that basically lets themselves sue the government for $500,000 each for being investigated for their involvement in the only insurrection that's ever occurred in United States history. So we're going to cover that today on this installment of Civil Action. I'm Shant Karnikian. That's Brian Kabateck over there. Thanks for tuning in to the Legal AF Network. Just a reminder before we dive into this juicy issue, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Remember to share this with whoever you think might find it interesting, regardless of their political preference. And this today, we're not just talking about, constitutional rights, legal. We're talking about Republicans literally sneaking in stuff that's basically a grift that basically lets them retroactively go back and sue their own government for $500,000. Brian, give us some background here. Give us some context about what we're talking about.
Yeah. Okay. So what we go back to January 6, 2021. And then Jack Smith is appointed as a special prosecutor to investigate. Jack Smith at some point issues legal subpoenas. That's important. Keep that in mind for the purpose of this discussion. He issues these subpoenas. And in the process of these subpoenas, he actually gets phone records from 8 Republicans, people like Lindsey Graham and Tommy Tuberville and others. They were looking to see what their communications were with both the White House, with the administration, and with people who were storming the Capitol to see if there was connections, what they did, what they said, how this all went down. So this would be part of any kind of a normal type of investigation, type of, criminal or quasi-criminal. And it wasn't like they just went and took the guy's phone from his pocket while he was, in the restroom. It's they got subpoenas and they got the data and they got the information. And it didn't come out until recently, within the last 2 years. That's really important also, that this actually happened. And of course, now we're dealing with the White House and we're dealing with the whole Trump group. They are anything that has to do with questioning anything they've ever done is all of a sudden a witch hunt. It's outrageous. Why were you doing this to us? So they want retribution. But apparently more than retribution, what do they want, Sean?
They want money. Typical MAGA move. It's a grift. It's part of the grift. Get these Republicans some cash. Let them sue their own government and get some cash, up to $500,000 apparently.
Right. Sue their own government. That's the whole point. So right now, as the thing stands, without this bill, they'd have no legal recourse because these were legitimate subpoenas that they were operating under.
Yeah, that's right. I want to talk about where this isn't highlighted. This wasn't a key talking point. This wasn't part of some big debate. No, this was inserted during closed-door negotiations by John Thune, from a Republican from South Dakota. No hearings, no floor debate, nothing. And it's not in its own section or anything. It's buried deep in Title III of this funding bill, right next to boring stuff like the budget for Capitol Police, office furniture budgets. It's just buried in there, and they snuck it in there in just self-interested language. It's a must-pass bill because everyone wants to open up the government and be able to fund various parts of the folks' everyday lives. So they snuck this in there. They basically shoved it down everyone's throats without people even knowing about it. And now we're seeing it. We're seeing that it was snuck in there.
Right. So they sneak it in. And they'd have no right of private action otherwise. But here's what the bill says, is that it says if a violation occurred, I'm going to talk very specifically here in a second. If a violation occurred, you're entitled to a minimum of $500,000 per violation. So if there are multiple violations, they could make $500,000 claims for each one of those violations. Now, the reason I said I want to talk specifically is that what the bill now requires is that you give the senator, the lawmaker, the member of Congress, whoever, notice that we're serving a subpoena. which kind of defeats the whole purpose of criminal subpoenas, right? It's like
Right.
you wouldn't go to the mob and say, we're really, really looking into your operations and we're going to serve some subpoenas tomorrow and come into your offices.
Yeah, give them a heads up. We're gonna be investigating you. Just want to give you a courtesy heads up. We're trying to sniff out some corruption or see what connections you have to insurrectionists. Just wanted to give friendly reminder. Just a courtesy, like when the utility company comes to check your water meter or something. Just a heads up. We're going to be stopping by in the next couple of weeks. Yeah, that's what.
And my utility company doesn't do that, by the way, Shant. They don't call me ahead of time to say they're coming over. But be that as it may, there's no way for the government to have retroactively cured this. So it's an automatic $500,000 minimum for 8 senators, which means a minimum of $4 million payout. And and it could be a lot more. I mean, they could immediately file lawsuits because normally the government process requires you to file claims. So there's no way for the government to cure the situation because at the time the law didn't exist that you have to give them notice. But let's look forward. Let's forget these 8 senators right now. What about the damaging effect in the future of subpoenaing elected officials' records if this law remains on the books?
Yeah, I mean, that's my big concern here too. Let's put aside the grift and the obvious self-dealing for a second. You're right. Yeah, what this does, it really undermines accountability and the ability to investigate, corruption. It doesn't always have to be in the wake of an insurrection on our Capitol. You also have, people that, you mean to tell me that no public person in public office, no politician has ever engaged in corruption or something like that? Yeah, of course. And this is how you sniff that stuff out. You use subpoenas to find out if someone's doing something that's improper or engaged in taking bribes or in some other type of wrongdoing. This is how you do it. They basically destroyed that mechanism. They've made it easier for folks to engage in corrupt acts, for folks to do things that are improper, and they've just destroyed it. It's really wild. It just undermines accountability for lawmakers.
And let's add insult to injury here, okay? They buried it. And as you said in this Article 3 or Title 3 of the bill, right alongside with funding of the Capitol Police, the people who were brutalized by the January 6th insurrectionists, and right there next to additional money for security enhancements for federal officials. So it's kind of bookend right between things that are supposed to protect these people and protect our Capitol and protect our institution. And then it's a giveaway.
Yeah, it's just really wild. And I apologize. I may have misspoken earlier because when I was talking about the $500,000, I think I said up to $500,000. No, Brian's absolutely right. I've looked at the text, that portion of it that he just read, and yeah, it's a minimum of $500,000. I mean, it's just wild. This is about retribution, but I think it's a bigger thing too. It's about the grift and money and all of that, of course. But I think it's also about retribution. They are just sore losers. They know that they basically Trump supported and encouraged an insurrection, and they're embarrassed by that. And this is how they're going to seek retribution. They're going to say, "Oh, Jack Smith,
And Sean, this is Go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I want you to finish.
No. Go ahead. Finish your thought on that.
The thing about this that is kind of outrageous is that, and you said it, and I just want to sort of reiterate it. It's a absolute Hobson's choice for the people that have agreed to sign on to this bill, because what they're doing is they're leveraging SNAP payments, they're leveraging benefits, they're leveraging employment for people who are living paycheck to paycheck. All of this against, well, what are you going to do? Kill the bill because you don't want to give us $500,000 each? Our little free giveaway. Come on. You're going to do that?
Yeah.
So it's exactly where they want it. It's exactly in the place where they want it. And this is just, this is why we do this, is that we want to bring light to the legal issues so that people out there, people listening to this, can share this with their friends, their family, even people who are on the other side. Bring this up to people on the other side. I'm not delusional. I'm not thinking that every MAGA person out there is going to suddenly look at this and change their mind. And there are certainly MAGA people, Shant, that are going to say, yeah, they should get $500,000, for what happened. But there's other people out there who are going to look at this and go, wow, that's pretty outrageous. So share it.
Yeah. I hope so. That's a great note to end on, Brian. The shutdown may be over, but the grift keeps going. I mean, I really wonder how some of the folks in the MAGA crowd are going to feel about things like this. While SNAP benefits are being held hostage and people's ability to travel is being jeopardized, these guys are self-dealing $500,000 taxpayer-funded payouts to themselves. So I wonder how they're going to feel about that. So stay tuned. We'll see what comes of this, and we'll see. I'm sure those claims will come soon enough, and these Republican senators will pay themselves $500,000, and we'll cover that when it happens. So stay tuned. Thanks for tuning in to another installment of Civil Action. I'm Shant Karnikian. That's Brian Kabateck over there. If you like this content, remember to hit that subscribe button, support the Legal AF Network. We have a great group of contributors here covering things that might not be in the mainstream, or at least trying to cover them and frame them in a way that's digestible, looking at the legal issues here. And we appreciate your support. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one.
Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.